This is Book Talk with Corbin. I'm your host, and it is a great pleasure for me to bring back Dr. John Ellis. When you go to my website, booktalkwithcorbin.com, you will see the first interview we had with him. At the end of that interview, he made a comment that I said, man, I have to bring him back because some of you are familiar with what's happening not only here in Louisville, but really throughout the whole Commonwealth of Kentucky, and I suspect many other parts of the United States. But before we talk to Dr. Ellis, I want to remind you guys that he's the author of 10 books, including the book, The Breakdown of Higher Education. And Doctor, we can get that at encounterbooks.com. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Encounterbooks.com, The Breakdown of Higher Education. I'm in the process of buying not one copy, but two, maybe three copies, because I'm telling you, I'm going to give this to a couple of parents. From what some of the reviews I've read of it, it's just that important. I've got to break the budget a little bit to do it, but it's worth it. Dr. Ellis, we wanted to talk to you today about critical race theory in black students. I think you had, at the end there of our first interview, taken a position that CRT could be potentially harmful to black students. Is that right?
Oh,
Could you talk about that?
very harmful. Yeah, very harmful.
In what way do you say you think it would be harmful to them?
Well, look, if you're going to get an education, you've got to believe in it. And you've got to believe there's some point to it. You've got to believe that if you work hard, it'll be rewarded. Now, critical race theory keeps telling black students that dice are loaded against you. Well, that's a terrible thing to say to kids. You want kids to be optimistic because if they're not optimistic, they're going to question whether their hard work is really, whether there's any point to it.
Yes.
So they've got to believe. They've got to believe that they can succeed. Critical race theory tells them, oh, whites are really wanting you not to succeed. Now, okay, some black kids are going to go on and keep the struggle going, and they're going to succeed. Other kids are going to get discouraged, and they're going to stop working quite so hard because they think there's no point to it. And that's a tragedy. And the critical race theory people are responsible for that. I mean, all of us have to, there's a complicated thing, an individual human being. But the one thing you've got to nurture in it is the human spirit. That spirit has got to be alive and well. It's got to believe in itself. It's got to believe in its future. It's got to believe in the fact that if it struggles hard enough, it's going to succeed. Critical race theories weaken that. They sabotage it. And for that, I cannot forgive them. They're doing tremendous damage.
Doctor, here in Kentucky, we have an organization called No Left Turn in Education. And one of the leaders were telling me that she was trying to make a similar point at a Board of Education meeting. And some people from within the audience actually yelled at her that she was a white supremacist and that she enjoyed, she's only saying what she's saying because of white privilege. How would you respond to that?
Well, to say someone's a white supremacist is a big leap, right? I mean, it conjures up images of the Ku Klux Klan writing again. And there's no evidence of that. I mean, we have at the moment, we have a harmony between the races that is unlike anything we've ever had. I mean, I go back to, say, the years after World War II, and I compare where we were in 1945 to where we are now. And what I see now is I see different races. People of different races are firm friends, value friendships. I see colleagues in the workplace, people value who rely on each other, depend on each other to get things done together. I see in-laws. I mean, the mixed marriages all over the place. My own family, I've got, I start out with 5 kids who are all white. I end up with grandchildren who are every color under the sun, which is great. We love it. So, I mean, all these things have happened. right? And there are signs of tremendous progress. And we want that progress to continue and to get even better. And for someone to say, I don't think you should be telling black kids they can't succeed. How's that white supremacist? I mean, and also, I think those people who say this, they're mostly on the left. They're so out of date. I mean, don't they understand that the greatest living political philosopher is Tom Sowell, a black man? The greatest living, actually, he's now dead, but only just died, Walter Williams. Yes. If you want someone to tell you how the free market system really works and explain that to you in vivid terms that anyone can grasp, Walter Williams was your man. There was nobody better. And so on, throughout many, many different professions. I mean, blacks are leading figures in this country in many spheres. And what we want is more of that. And to tell black kids they can't succeed, well, I can point to dozens of people who are proof that that's nonsense. So I think this is a spiteful theory. It's a theory that's designed to make trouble between the race system. I'll tell you, I think those people really don't like the harmony we've got, because I think the left wants to transform this society. And you can only transform it if people will accept that. And they'll only accept it if they're unhappy with it. So the left wants to make an unhappy society. And when you and I see the kind of progress I've talked about, that people in the workplace are friends and rely on each other and colleagues and so on, and when you see greatly admired public figures like Tom Sowell, like Walt Connolly, like Shelby Steele, and so on, when you see people like that, people like you and me are very happy about this. And we're looking forward to seeing more of it. And we're looking forward to a great society on these lines. But the left is not happy about this, because where you and I see racial progress and happiness and harmony and working together, what they see is their best issue, the issue where they can stir up trouble, their best issue slipping away from them, slipping through their fingers. And, when you and I see a society healing and progressing, what they see as a society slipping out of their grasp. And that's why leftists are so dangerous to all of us, but especially, I think, to what should now be a major upwardly mobile move for blacks.
Yes. This is Book Talk with Corbin. I'm their host, and I have with me Dr. John Ellis. He is the author of many books, but his latest one is The Breakdown of Higher Education. You can get a copy of that at encounterbooks.com, and I highly recommend all parents who are thinking about sending their son or daughter off to college, you make sure you buy that book first. And not only should you read it, but your son or daughter should read it as well. Doc, we got a few minutes left, and I know math is really not your field of specialty, but I don't know if you've heard of this latest theory that mathematics is racist and it reinforces white supremacy. It sounds like you have heard this.
Yeah. Well, this again, I think, is part of the plot the leftists have. I think they don't want, basically, their best issue, which is potentially best issue, which is black unhappiness, to go away. So they don't want progress to be made. Now, if blacks basically become great engineers, great mathematicians, great astrophysicists, that's not good for the left. And so they try and peddle this notion of mathematics is racist. Well, the trouble with that is they give examples like getting the right answer is white supremacy.
Right.
or using mathematics and pretending you get the exact correct answer. That's that's uh, that's uh, that's white power. You're in the hands of white power. Well, the problem is, I mean, if an engineer designing a plane doesn't get the right answer, the plane crashes.
Right.
Uh, and there's a Korean firm called LG that makes all kinds of refrigerators, washing machines, and so on. And that firm has the highest consumer satisfaction rating of any company anywhere in the world.
Hmm.
That's Korean. It's not white, but Americans love it. They love their products. Why do they love it? Because they work. And if LG relied on woke mathematics, it wouldn't be selling billions of dollars worth of stuff to Americans.
Right.
So, I mean, this whole white supremacy thing is nonsense. I'd love to hear the LG engineers in Korea laughing about that one.
Yeah, I mean, you use the example of you got to get that mathematics right so that plane takes off and lands safely. And I do a lot of flying, and let me tell you, I don't care if you're black or white. If your math is right, and I want it to be right, we're good. We're happy. I'm happy with you.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I would have thought by now this was out of date, this kind of talk. This kind of talk I might have been hearing 70, 80 years ago
mhm.
when there really was a Ku Klux Klan. But right now, why would we be bothered with this woke nonsense? I mean,
Yes.
what we should be doing is getting kids to the starting gate and saying to them, okay, believe in yourself, learn the stuff, and rise as far as you can go. And we'll cheer you all on, whatever your color, who cares?
Mm.
We'll just cheer you all on. And pretty soon we'll have a incredibly talented and very happy society. This CRT nonsense is, let's face it, it is an attempt to cripple that, to sabotage it, to stop it, because leftists hate the fact that this society is happy because it works on free markets and meritocracy.
Yes.
And the left hates that, and they'll do everything they can to bring it down. But the problem is this, that over the years, I mean, if you go back to, say, I don't know, the 20s, 30s, the upwardly mobile group at that point was Irish, probably, Jews, and they use free public higher education for upward mobility. And pretty soon, I mean, they were really downtrodden in the 20s. I mean, and pretty soon you got senators, judges, presidents who are Irish extraction or Jewish. Now, at this point, it's the turn of blacks to be upwardly mobile. And wouldn't you know it, this is exactly the time the woke left have decided to strike and stop
Mm.
the upwardly, stop the effectiveness of higher education for upward mobilists, which is incredibly bad for blacks at the moment because it's their turn to move up.
Yeah.
This is the historical moment where we should be seeing that happening, and that should be the beginning of a new era of prosperity and harmony. And the left doesn't want it because it would hurt their chances of remaking this society as a socialist paradise. And they're prepared to do anything to stop that, even hurt the people they're supposed to be looking out for.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. And as you were saying that last sentence, the one thing that hit me was Mugabe's regime in Zimbabwe. I mean, the very people he claimed he was there to liberate. He's out there spousing all this socialism, Marxist Leninist stuff, are the very people who, I mean, they were suffering tremendously. I mean,
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I say to
yeah.
folks, it can happen here. and we need to
It
fight.
can't happen here because the left will